In the 7th episode of Dandadan, we're introduced to a new concept in the physical form that Okarun's balls take. I didn't know this at first when I started reading the manga, but the creatures and characters in this story are actually real-world ideas that Tatsu Yukinobu incorporated. They're cryptids and urban legends that he populated the world of Dandadan with. In this video, I'm going to review these ideas as they exist in real life to discover the history behind them that Tatsu brought into his story and made his own. Just a heads up, this is going to be a basic intro to the idea and won't be going super in-depth. If you want to know more, I encourage you to go dig into the research for this stuff yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this week, there's nothing new to dive into, so this one's kind of just an explanation of a joke. A pun that might not be immediately obvious to foreign audiences who are unfamiliar with Japanese culture and slang. In the manga/anime, Okarun's balls are depicted physically as literal golden spheres. This is actually a visual pun due to a common slang term for testicles in Japanese. Kintama is the term, and it incorporates the kanji for gold, kin, and the kanji for ball or jewel, tama. Put them together and you get a word that describes a golden ball or golden jewel. Of course, we have a similar slang term in English drawing a comparison between precious, expensive objects and a man's berries, family jewels. So it's not an entirely foreign concept. There's more to the history behind this Japanese term, however. It's rooted in the classic Japanese creature known as a tanuki. Tanuki are actual animals in Japan, also known as the Japanese raccoon dog, but also have a mythical component to them. They're often depicted as mischievous, playful shapeshifters. You may be familiar with Tanuki because of Mario, but in actual Japanese myth, Tanuki are often depicted with comically huge balls. You can find statues and paintings dating back hundreds of years depicting them this way. These balls are used for a variety of purposes, sometimes being used as drums, pillows, umbrellas, or even weapons. I mentioned that Tanuki are technically real animals, but also have a mythical component. The mythical component is technically referred to as a Bake-danuki, or monster raccoon dog. They are technically considered a yokai in this form, so I still ended up getting to talk about one in this video anyway. As mentioned, they're often depicted as shapeshifters, being able to take the forms of objects or people, and in some regions of Japan, it's even believed that they can possess people, bringing their powers in line with those of the kitsune, a specific type of mystical fox in Japanese folklore. The difference seems to be that kitsune shapeshift to tempt people, whereas Bake-danuki shapeshift simply to fool people and make them look stupid, or even just because they like to. They are also often depicted as having large bellies, which they drum on to make a pon-poko or pon-pon sound, which are two Japanese onomatopoeia you may have read or heard in manga and anime, with many depictions of Bake-danuki transforming into or possessing humans, adding that sound to the end of their sentences as verbal tics. Adding on to the lore surrounding the aspect of the Bake-danuki that pertains most to this video, the depiction of them with bowling ball balls seems to have originated in the Kamakura period amongst goldsmiths, which leads me nicely into the next part of the topic. There is a practical origin as well for this particular belief. In Kanazawa, metalworkers would use skins from actual tanuki to hammer gold into thin shapes. Due to the elasticity of the tanuki skin, they could use it to hammer the gold extremely thin into what's known as gold leaf. Eventually, the legendary elasticity of tanuki skin led to this idea infiltrating the myths about the tanuki, with the myth being that their scrotums could stretch up to the size of 8 tatami mats, the flooring used in many Japanese homes, which equates to about 12 square meters, or almost 130 square feet in freedom units. On the topic of gold leaf, even today, nearly 100% of Japan's gold leaf comes from Kanazawa, although nowadays they use washi paper for production of the traditional Ensuke gold leaf, and there is also the more modern tachikiri technique developed in the 1960s, which makes use of modern industrial equipment. The The production of this gold leaf led to the rise of all sorts of art in Japan making use of gold leaf, such as encrusting things from tableware to architecture in gold. The gold leaf could be used for a variety of purposes, such as applying it to eggs to make them golden, an art form that's existed in the world for quite a long time, even outside of Japan, as evidenced by the widely known Fabergé egg. This gave rise to the term kin no tamago, or literally egg of gold, which was further shortened to kin no tama. Of course, this is pretty close to kintama, which gives the pun yet another layer, as thinking of a testicle similarly to an egg due to its purpose in reproduction, as well as just its shape, gives even further depth to the comedy behind the slang term. There is another layer, however, as kin is a term with a poetic function to refer to things that are precious and valuable, which is also common in English parlance as well, as seen with phrases like comedy gold, for example. The term tama, being that it can mean jewel, is often associated with beauty or rarity. So the fact that these two terms are combined to refer to an element of male anatomy so crudely adds another layer of humor to the phrase. Of course, in Dandadan, these all add together to create a visual pun where Okarun's stolen balls take the form of actual golden spheres, given the slang term kintama to refer to testicles. Tatsu, whether he was aware of all the history behind it or not, knew that kintama could be used to refer to a literal golden ball, and so just leaned into that to be able to depict this particular plot element without getting his manga an R18+ rating. Anyway, that's all I have for you in this episode of The Truth Behind Dandadan. Hopefully you enjoyed this little review of the real-world ideas behind the show. Feel free to drop a comment if you can think of any other info I didn't manage to find. If you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe as well so you can support the channel and see what else I put out. Until I see you next time, stay safe and have fun.